Hello, masterpieces. Here's our very first front porch story from Phyllis G. Today's story is about two women who walked the same road but saw the journey through different eyes. So lean back, clear your mind, and let yourself drift to earlier times when the front porch was a classroom and our elders were the teachers. Their stories shaped us, and their lessons still walk beside us. Kia and Haven met at college. They were paired as roommates. It was an awkward pair, just off their personalities, but they had some things in common. These commonalities brought them not only to be roommates, but sorority sisters too. Kia carried her brilliance like a spotlight. She earned an academic scholarship, graduated top of her class, and arrived on campus knowing she was gifted. The problem was, she made sure everyone else knew it too. She didn't say, "You're beneath me." Sometimes it sounded like, "I can't imagine clocking in after class. That sounds exhausting." Other times it was, "That whole out the mud thing sounds inspiring. Just a little too dusty for me." Haven had the same honors, the same full ride, and the same kind of mind that opened doors. But she carried hers differently. She didn't use her scholarships as a crown. She treated it like a blessing. While Kia announced her achievements, Haven was grateful for the opportunity to learn without the weight of tuition on her shoulders.
As time passed, their paths stayed close, but their ways of walking started to look different.
Then came senior year with the sorority elections. It wasn't a surprise that Kia threw her name in the ring. Folks had seen her coming a mile away. But when Haven stepped forward, heads tilted. Some whispered, "She's sweet, but can she lead?" As the campaigning began, their differences started showing. Kia took the reins and held them tight. She had her flyers, her slogan, her plan, and her pride. She was a firm believer that if you want something done right, do it yourself. But Haven took a different path. She even asked Kia if she needed help, which Kia scoffed. "Help from who?" Haven refused to give up. She DM'd Michelle, a young graphic designer who was a sophomore sorority sister. The result? Graphic designs that commanded attention. Michelle created bold, beautiful visuals for Haven's campaign. After Haven shared them on social media, Michelle's business began to grow quickly. Michelle did graphic design as a side hustle, but her true gift was marketing. She admired how Haven lived what she said. In return, she became Haven's campaign manager. The campaign was called A True Sister's Keeper. In it, Michelle shared how Haven's kindness and sincerity in building a relationship helped her business grow. Others also chimed in on their experiences with Haven over the last couple of years. And just like that, Haven's name began to travel. Her social media grew, her work gained attention, her kindness became part of her brand.
And just like that, Haven's circle grew not by her voice alone, but by the harmony of many.
The work was done. Flyers posted, voices shared, stories told. Today held the power to tip the scales. At the mixer, Kia walked in like the spotlight belonged to her. Her laugh bounced off every wall. She soaked up compliments like your grandma biscuit soaked up molasses. But her eyes, they rarely met the one praising her. She was more focused on getting pictures and rubbing elbows with the important people. Haven, on the other hand, moved differently. She genuinely asked and sincerely listened to how people were doing. And when others complimented her, she said, "I'm trying to be like you." It wasn't just cute or culture. It was an authentic connection.
Kia brought the dazzle, but Haven's gift was seeing the shine in others, and helping them see it too. That kind of energy stays with you.
Later that evening, the two ran into Dr. Farmer, who was once a chapter president herself. "In the year of 1992, she would say proudly. Dr. Farmer spoke of mistakes that she made and lessons that she learned from them. Haven leaned in with interest as she spoke. She thanked her for the insight and built up the courage to clear her throat and ask, regardless of the outcome. Would you be willing to mentor me?" Dr. Farmer replied with a huge smile, more than happy to. Kia offered a nod and turned away with that forced smile. "You know the one. As if you smelled something funky." She mumbled under her breath. "Ain't he probably called TikTok and Instagram the internets and say cereal instead of Siri to her iPhone? How can she help me?"
But see, wisdom doesn't expire. It just waits for listening ears.
Kia and Haven stood before the student body. Two candidates, two very different kinds of confidence. Kia brought the facts. She quoted last year's fundraising total, chapter service hours, and event attendance. Then she smirked at Haven and turned back to the crowd as if the answer was obvious. With her leadership experience, campus connections, and an online following of over 50,000, Kia made it clear she offered something no other candidate could: visibility, influence, and results. Haven, she didn't lead with numbers. She spoke from the heart about what students needed most: safer dorms, mental health support, and leaders who actually listened. Haven may not have been a social media person, but she was a people person. Her eyes stayed with the audience. Her concerns stayed with their needs. Her nerves got the best of her a few times. She froze. She stumbled through a couple of answers from the panel. She wasn't flawless. She wasn't flashy, but she was present, and people felt that.
It wasn't the perfect pitch that won them over. It was the honest one.
The next morning, Haven and Kia sat across from each other in the cafeteria. Students laughed. Trays slid across tables. Morning light filled the room. But at their table, the air was heavy. Haven tried to soften it with a compliment. "Kia, I learned so much from your speech last night. And as my grandma would say, you were sharp as a tack." Kia tilted her head. "Well, you were sharp too." "Not like a tack, more like a butter knife." "Oops." "Butter knives are dull. That was you, boo." Haven's face tightened, but Kia kept firing insults. "I know you probably skipped rocks for fun, but you didn't have to skip through those panel answers too. I have to give it to you. That speech had heart." "Too bad heart doesn't hide country." Kia chuckled to herself, amused. Haven sat still, refusing to match Kia's fire. "I hope that makes you feel better," she uttered. Just then, both of their phones began buzzing and chiming on the cafeteria table. Kia snatched her phone first. Her eyes swept across the screen. For a moment, she said nothing. Slowly, a sly smile spread across her face. The results were in. Kia had won. Haven saw the results too. She had lost by 6 votes. She took a slow breath. Disappointed? Yes. Defeated? No. She had stepped out of her comfort zone and into leadership. For Haven, the campaign was over, but something in her had just begun. Kia rose from the table and leaned close to Haven's ear. "Now that makes me feel better," she snarked. But behind Kia's smile and sharp words were something she would never admit: embarrassment. She expected a landslide. She wanted proof that she was untouchable. But 6 votes told a different story.
That close race forced her to sit with a quiet truth. Maybe she was not that girl, the way she believed she was.
More than a decade later, Haven returned to her alma mater in disbelief. She walked down the same hallway where it all began. Memories flickered through her mind. Orientation, her first campaign, and the whispers of who she was never supposed to become. She paused by the mirror, not to check her hair, but to take in a reflection of a journey that had shaped her life. Wow, she marveled. Who would have thought that quiet girl with a steady heart would lead like this? She was no longer the student waiting to be chosen. She was the keynote speaker. Kia had won the campaign, Haven had won the people. And while Kia's title faded with time, Haven's steady light only grew brighter. She became a member of Congress, proudly carrying her sorority's legacy into every room. She mentored with grace, listened with purpose, and never stopped making people feel seen. Because for Haven, it was never about visibility. It was about seeing others and leading by lifting. Haven reached for the handles and opened the doors. Thunderous applause filled the room. She took one more breath, smiled, and stepped forward. Not as someone chasing a title, but as a woman who understood that legacy lives in how we love, how we serve, and how we make people feel long after we've left the room. Final reflection. If you don't remember anything else, remember this. There are Kias and Havens we encounter every day. Kia, know-it-all. Haven, humble, appreciative, virtuous, empathetic, nurturer. Both smart, both driven, but only one embraced the quiet grace of self-compassion, the discipline of self-control, and the dignity of knowing when to pause, protect, and grow. As the elders used to say, stay small enough to kneel and big enough to serve. So masterpieces, will you lead to be seen or lead because you see clearly?
I'm glad you stopped by. Subscribe before you go, so we can sit together again for the next Front Porch Story.